on my head, I still feel the pain. Every time it's cold and every time it rain, feel like ice water running through my veins. Since the day I got hit, I ain't been the same. See my dog die, they blew out his brains all on the window, feel like window pane. Had to suck it.
So look, nigga, I think I remember telling y'all about the story about when I broke in the house, right? So the aftermath of this shit, right? And I'm gonna go check in the videos and make sure. If I didn't tell y'all the story, I'm gonna tell y'all the story. But I just wanna tell y'all the aftermath. You heard me? And like decision making, like I was telling y'all about making the right decisions, right? So after nigga broke in and shot the house, you hear me? She come at me, like she come straight from my top, you hear me? Like I'm you know, in hindsight I know what happened, but at that time I ain't know, you know, what happened. But a nigga had gave me up, you hear me? Same nigga be fucking with, all for that pussy, you hear me? So she come straight at my top like you broke in my house or whatever like that. So I'm like, man, you tripping, you hear me? She like, yeah, why as soon as my house get broken, you leave from around here and all this? I'm like, man, you tripping, son. I don't just be around here, I be everywhere, you hear me? The fuck you talking about? Like, I ain't go in your house or whatever. You hear me? Cause I'm like, I don't know what you know, but you can't prove it, you hear me? But I ain't say that to her, but I'm just saying in my head, so I'm like, I ain't about to never tell you, alright, yeah, you got me. I ain't breaking your house, you hear me? So, boom. Next day, me, Mike, Twin Mike, all of we on the porch, you hear me? A couple other niggas, you hear me, on the porch. So, she pull up with a nigga, you hear me? So she hop out that bitch, you hear me? And she look over there at me, and she lean back in the car and like go to purring at me. So she go to saying, yeah, that's the nigga that broke in my house right there, whatever. So I'm like, man, you tripping, don't come with that again, you hear me? So they, you know, they laughing and shit, they like, oh, that boy, she on you and all this, you hear me? I'm like, man, y'all tripping. Chill out with that, she ain't on nothing cause I ain't breaking the house, whatever. So dude get out the car, you hear me? So that when this motherfucker, when she turned back around, she pull out a whole 9 on me, you hear me? Like she done up that bitch, you hear me? So I'm like, man, you tripping now. So whoo, you hear me? Nigga pull out on her, you hear me? So dude jump out the car, you hear me? Nigga think he about to get on some gangster shit or something, you hear me? Man, nigga hop out, son, that nigga got the little button down shirt and shit. And that boy like, he said, man, look, next time I come around here, bro, what he say, next time I come around here, the fuck he said? He said like next time I come around here, he said it's gonna be some it's gonna be some shit. He was like it was gonna be some shit or whatever like that. Then that boy bust out, I'm a district attorney you know, at the courthouse and all that. I'm like, man, what the fuck, you hear me? So I'm like, what this nigga trying to get on some play the people type shit, you hear me? So she like, yeah, I got all kind of high power friends or whatever. You dig? So I'm like, man, she tripping. You hear me? So she jumped back in the car and they pull off. So I'm like, man, she tripping. This one up on me, you hear me? They like, boy, that up on you, woo, woo, woo. I'm like, oh, they think this shit funny, you hear me? So I'm like, man, cause I don't take kindly to that, son. Don't put no gun on me, you hear me? I'm scared. You pull a gun on me, I'm starting to think you might next time it might not be no, you hear me? Shit, so I'm like, boy, I might have to, you hear me? Do this little motherfucker something, you hear me? So thinking on it hard, I thought on it hard, son, and I'm like, the last thing that come to my mind was like, man, she got them kids, you hear me? She got 3 little kids, she had just had a baby, you hear me? And so I'm like, man, alright. I'ma chill, but I'm like, dog, she ever play again like that, man, I gotta, you hear me? I gotta go with the moves, and I can't have nobody up and on me, son, for real. I was real scared, you hear me? So I decided to chill or whatever. We run into each other again. That motherfucker like she put a voodoo curse on me, son. The same little color purple voodoo curse. Everything you touch gonna turn to dirt and all that shit until you do right by me and all that, man. I'm like, man, this is tripping. I just laugh off, you hear me? So boom, man. Next thing I know, you hear me? In the near future, man, that motherfucker got hit by a whole ATV, you hear me? Like Round Canal, something like that, you hear me? A nigga riding a four-wheeler hit her, killed her, bop, you hear me? I'm like, Lord did that for me, you hear me? Cause he know, man, I wasn't feeling that, man. You been up on me, you keep, you hear me? Every time you ready to something, you hear me? You ain't letting go. You really like, you feel like I did this, you want some payback and all that. I ruined your Christmas Eve. I'm like, man, but don't play no gun with me. You hear me? So I was like, man, son, it was a hard decision, but I said, God let me know, man, I was right in the situation, because I ain't just do it on no, you hear me? Like, for real, son, it was some shit I had to do, son, at the time. At the time, it was something I had to do. I had to make Christmas pop for me, you hear me? I had to go savage mode, for real. And like I said, shit, you say I ain't even take the money, so you shouldn't even, you hear me? Fuck, you still could have had a good criminal or whatever. But fuck, I made sure mine was good. You hear me? God forgive me for that. But you know, fuck, you took her, so shit. You know, I'm just saying, don't judge me. Let God be the judge then. She got sentenced to death. You hear me? On the real, playing with a real nigga. You hear me? But yeah, so like I said, what if I would have crashed out and smoked her and you hear me? And I could be, you know, like I am not, free as a bird. What if I would have smoked and the shit would have turned out bad and God was already gonna take out? You know, I ain't fucked up all the plans. So I had to go with my first mind. You hear me? But I'm out. Like I told y'all, next time I'm gonna tell y'all about the shit with me and Pooch. You hear me? Culture gang, man. Y'all know I wasn't about to leave y'all without saying that, man. Culture.